welcome to this year's virtual Year 4 writing workshop. Today I'm going to discuss year group expectations, talk for writing, grammar and punctuation, spelling, and finally handwriting. Okay, the expectations for year 4. Children should try to use different sentences to create effects, for example, simple and compound sentences, and using connectives as openers. Children should use the correct tense when writing. I can usually use the first or third person correctly. I can use apostrophes to shorten words, for example, do not equals don't, it is it. The classes know this as apostrophes for contraction. My writing is organised into paragraphs to show different pieces of information, events or processes. My stories are well paced and balanced in content. I can use adverbs and conjunctions to link paragraphs. I can write a story with a build-up and complication that leads towards a clear ending using a paragraph for each section. I can confidently use most features of the text type I am writing. I can carefully select detail to support the purpose of my writing and engage my reader's interest. I can use adverbial phrases to add detail, for example, after tea or once it happened, and then continue my sentence. I can choose some vocabulary to add interest or clarity or to introduce opinion or persuasion. I can write stories which include a range of strategies to describe settings. I can create characters which are linked either by description or feeling. I can use words which are lively and imaginative in order to amuse or entertain the reader that I'm writing to. I can edit and improve my writing, changing grammar and vocabulary. I can confidently use a range of strategies to spell unfamiliar words and irregular words. I can write neatly and clearly using joined handwriting. Finally, I can spell words correctly from the year 3 and 4 word list. Writing skills. Children should develop and refine ideas when planning. When it comes to narrative writing, there are 4 ways for children to start a narrative or a story. These are starting by describing a setting or describing a character. Or they could start by using dialogue, so starting with speech straight away using those inverted commas. Or they can dive right in and start with action. Children should organise writing into paragraphs to distinguish between different information, events or processes. To group together similar content to make a smooth link to the next paragraph is the other reasons we use paragraphs. Grammar, punctuation and spelling. Children should extend sentences using a range of connectives such as when, if, because and although. They should use verb tenses correctly within their writing, for example, writing in past tense when writing a newspaper report. They should choose pronouns to avoid repetition. They should use adjectives, adverbs, connectives and varied sentence structure. Following on from this, they should deliberately form simple, compound and complex sentences. So using those connectives to make longer, complex sentences, but then knowing when to include a simple, short sentence for effect and impact to the reader. Okay, I'm sure you've heard a lot about this already as it's used across the school in younger years as well. Talk for writing. At the start of Talk for Writing unit, they will immerse themselves within that unit completely. Then in the following week, they will innovate what they have been immersed in. Then they will go on to invent a completely new story or newspaper report based on that unit. During the immersion stage at the beginning, children will learn a text or a type of text in detail so that they can use it as a scaffold for their own writing. So, for example, this could be an oral story. In younger years, they've used Jack and the Beanstalk, the 3 Little Lambs, so knowing that narrative style of writing. It could be a media unit, for example, Wing It, or a non-fiction text, for example, writing a newspaper report. So they fully become immersed in that style of writing. The immersion stage can include learning a story by heart, drawing a story map, which we still use even as they're getting older into Key Stage 2, because using those visuals is so important. Drama activities are equally as important, really getting into the character. Using roll on the wall, which is where, for example, they're doing the Iron Man at the moment. So they've had a picture of the Iron Man in the middle of their page, and then all around that character, they've had to describe his feelings at a certain moment within the narrative. And then writing in the role of a character, for example, writing a diary entry in the role of Guy Fawkes or the Iron Man, whether they're doing a non-fiction or a fiction text, or writing a letter. After this, they'll move on to the second stage, which is innovation. They'll use the structure of the text that they've just been immersed in, and the children will then adapt it to write their own version. To support this, we use a planning stage, which the children will know this as the box it up stage, where they plan their writing. Children use their plan to write an extended text over a number of days. Using the class box up version, which we work on together, we will then model writing each section, including key vocabulary, appropriate sentence types and punctuation. This is also an opportunity to highlight any misconceptions that we've noticed in their writing and to model that correct handwriting style, which I'm going to come on to. The final stage of the innovation process is for the children to edit and improve their writing using the appropriate year group expectations for support, which I've spoken about at the beginning of this. For example, children will assess their own work using the autumn targets and then add in any features that are missing. This self-assessment and awareness of their own progress in writing is so important. So children need to learn that when they've written a sentence, they need to read it back through to themselves, think, does it make sense? Is there any way that I can make it even better? The third stage is the invention stage. Children can then extend their understanding of the text through further invention, for example, writing the next chapter in a story or putting the character in a completely different situation. Non-fiction genres can be invented by using them in other areas of the curriculum, for example, writing a diary or a newspaper report about a humanities topic. Grammar and punctuation. Grammar and punctuation are taught in starters, early morning work and through modelled writing during that shared writing process that I just spoke about, where the class are involved. Grammar and punctuation is assessed half-termly with a little assessment during about the 6th week of term. They're assessed in areas of common misconception and any areas that are then repeatedly areas of misconception we then address in the following half term. So everything that children struggle with get assessed and they progress through that. Spelling. Children have a daily spelling session taught using the Spelling Shed programme, which links to the phonics taught in reception and Year 1. All children have access at home to the Spelling Shed. Their logins are in the front of their diaries, and I know that everyone is accessing this, okay? Activities include revisiting previous spelling rules, introducing the new rule, breaking words into syllables, practicing using the rule, dictation, and testing each other. That last one they especially enjoy during classes. Okay, handwriting. Across the school, we have introduced a new joint handwriting scheme, which has a lead in stroke. Okay, so before they write the letter, they have a little brush stroke that leads into that letter. Children practice joining their writing in specific handwriting sessions, as well as seeing it being used during modelled writing. They then have the opportunity in their foundation subjects, such as humanities or science, to practice this handwriting. Okay, how you can support at home. Children, as you know, get set weekly homework tasks. These could be extended by yourselves by asking your child to write a piece of text using the rule they have been learning. Okay, so for example, the spelling rule. How can you introduce that at home during their writing? Spelling practice. Punctuation and grammar activities online. There's so many resources out there that children can use to practice their grammar and punctuation. Regular writing practice, for example, keeping a diary, should be encouraged. Writing a report about a football match or anything they've done at the weekend. Also things like writing up a recipe that they've done or a science experiment. They should also be encouraged to write for a purpose, for example, a thank you letter. Okay, as always, if you have any questions at all, please get in touch with the school. Myself, Miss Clark, or Mrs. Nalder are always happy to answer any queries that you've got.